With Supercar came a new trademark, filmed in Supermarionation.
Supercar, Supercar, with beauty and grace, as swift as can be. Watch it flying through the air. It travels in space or under the sea, and it can journey anywhere.
In November 1960, Gerry Anderson and Sylvia Tam tied the knot. Their stormy marriage would become one of the most publicised show business partnerships of the 1960s.
They seemed to be a very nice partnership, and they seemed to work together very well. And it was just sad that later on it fell apart.
We in fact had been living together for quite some time. And now and again she would say, well, aren't we going to get married? And I would say, yes, of course, but we can't do it at the moment. We were too busy. And eventually we found the time and we went up to town, got married. I was driving back to the studio and it was quite late, and on the grass in front of this little studio I saw the round water tank where the fire service had filled with water. They had Supercar on a line, and somebody was holding their breath, holding it underwater. They would release it and pull it out the water, and it wasn't working. So I said to my then wife, sorry, I'll be late. This is our marriage night. So I spent the night working outside, getting that particular shot.
It was a very happy time, and I always remember the image of Gerry and Sylvia walking around arm in arm, and just enjoying it. I can always remember that, which makes up for all the, the unpleasantness.
I mean, this is a fairly traditional body structure for any kind of string puppet used in live performance.
You made the clay first, and then took a rubber mould, and then took...
Well, you had to have a plaster outer casing to hold the rubber into. Yeah.
And then the fiberglass was put into that, a gel coat, just like you make a boat. And then the rubber was, the plaster was taken off, and then the rubber was peeled back, and you're left with this and a bit of tidying up and some paint.
I definitely think he was modelled on Lou Grade.
This is interesting because it's got a separate neck as well. The later figures didn't. They had a solid neck, but that was important because it needed space for the solenoid in the base of the neck, so more room was needed, so the head was made in one.
From what we called the control box, which was right at the end of the studio, there was a tape playback machine, and the dialogue went through the wires, down the puppet wires into the puppet's head, and inside the puppet's head was a solenoid, little sort of electromagnet which moved the mouth open and close.
9,000, 11,000.
It was either too much sensitivity, as you used to call it, so it used to say, hello, how are you today, into the mouth, or else it was the other way and it used to go, hello, how are you today?
Everybody's got to be ready. And so everybody, after all this time we've been waiting, rehearsing, lighting, getting the right lens, doing all these things, everything's ready. And so, you say, okay, turn over, action.
Puppets inevitably, during the course of operating, used to get tied up in knots, and arms went backwards and hands that were flipped backwards. And to start with, you used to have to ask the camera technicians to sort it out, and they were sort of a bit like asking Godzilla to do some brain surgery. They sort of, oh, it seems to have come off,
I received a call at the studio from Lou one morning, and he said, Gerry, can you come up and see me? And I said, yes, sure, tomorrow morning. He said, well, can you come up now? So I said, yeah, fine. So I jumped in my car, drove up to ATV House, and I got into Lou's office, and he sat me down in front of his desk, and he looked me straight in the eye and he said, Gerry, I've decided to buy your company. Now, I have to tell you, I was deeply offended because we had our own company and we had our own letterhead with our names printed on it, and we had a telephone and a filing cabinet, and here he was, he wanted to buy our company, and I thought to myself, what a bloody cheek this bloke's got. What do you mean? I mean, he didn't say, I'd like to buy your company. No, he said, I'm going to buy your company. Not, would you like to sell your company? No, I've decided to buy your company. And I sat there thinking, what a damn cheek he's got. And then he told me how much he was prepared to pay. And I remember thinking, what a good idea that he should buy my company.